Now, here's a sentence I did not expect to write in 2026. The single most useful document on rolling out AI inside of a large organization was just published by the US State Department, not a consulting firm, not an AI lab, but the State Department. The common story about government and technology is that it's slow, it's bloated, it's 10 years behind, and sometimes that's a fair part of the story. But the story we're being sold about enterprise AI right now is the opposite kind of wrong. It says the hard part is picking the right model. GPT versus Claude versus Gemini. That's the conversation in most boardrooms right now. Do we go with OpenAI or Anthropic? The State Department just quietly proved that really that's the wrong conversation. So let me walk you through what they actually did, because if you're trying to get AI adopted anywhere, a hospital, a company, a team, this is the playbook. Literally, they called it a playbook. Start with the numbers that matters the most. An MIT report this past year found that 95% of enterprise AI pilots delivered no measurable return. Let that sink in. 95%. Most AI projects die in the pilot stage. They never scale. Now here's the State Department. A tool they call StateChat went from 150 test users to over 62,000, running at 98% of US diplomatic posts around the world. That is the 5% that actually crossed the finish line. So the only interesting question is, what did they do differently? And four things stood out to me. Number one, they fought the boring fight first. Before StateChat could touch anything sensitive, they spent roughly a year securing what's called a FISMA high authority to operate. Basically, the government's highest bar for handling sensitive data. A full year on approvals before the flashy part ever hit the fan. And in healthcare, this lands immediately. Our version of that fight is HIPAA. It's PHI. It's can this thing legally touch a patient record? Now, most organizations try to skip that. They launch something fun on public data, and then they hit a wall the moment it needs to do real work. State did it the opposite way in the opposite order. The permission to be useful came first. That's the whole ballgame. Number two, they shipped something almost embarrassingly small. The early version of StateChat lost your chat after 24 hours. Uploading a document took hours. It couldn't connect to a single internal system, and they launched it anyway. Their own lesson, in their own words, was start before you're ready. Because the second real people touched it, they learned which features actually matter. Instead of spending 2 years in a committee guessing, the failure mode I see everywhere is the opposite. Build the perfect platform for 18 months, then launch to silence. State chose momentum over polish. Small and real beats, big and theoretical. Number three, and this is the one that nobody really wants to hear, the hard part wasn't the technology. It was getting humans to use it. They ran more than 90 office hour sessions. They trained tens of thousands of people, and they got senior leaders to publicly say, yes, you're allowed to use this, because the number one thing holding people back wasn't the skill. It was the permission. People genuinely weren't sure they were allowed to use the tool. That's the whole thesis in one case study. Adoption is a change management problem, wearing kind of a technology costume. The model is almost never what's stopping you. The organization is. Number four, the payoff wasn't the chatbot. It was the boring stuff. One pilot, just modernizing how they process reporting, ran across 115,000 documents. It improved their financial data accuracy by 28%, and it saved 76,000 staff hours and avoided $6 million in cost. When have you ever heard the government do that before? Nobody's going viral over we cleaned up our reporting, but that's where the real money was. The flashy demo gets the headline. The unglamorous workflow, well, that's where the ROI was. Now, let me be straight with you on the softer numbers. 90% of users said the tool saved them time, and 96% said they'd recommend it. Those come from a voluntary opt-in survey, so treat them as enthusiasm, but not really gospel. But the 76,000 hours from that reporting pilot, that's measured, that's operational result. So when you cite this stuff, lead with the hard number. So here's where it leaves us. The opportunity, someone just handed you the answer key. A real organization, 80,000 people, global, more regulated than almost anything you're dealing with in your organization, documented exactly how they went from a toy to 62,000 users. It's a free PDF. You can steal the entire framework this afternoon from the US government. The risk is that you read a story like this and you walk away thinking, we need better AI. You don't. You need the security clearance to be useful. an MVP that's live this month, a leader who says you're allowed to use it, and one boring workflow you can actually measure. That's it. That's the playbook. The State Department is not who I expected to teach the rest of us how to adopt AI, but they did the work, they showed the receipts, and they all published it. At least we can do is probably read it. I'll drop the link below and go take a look.